Well, hello, friends. How are you? It's Joni here at Joni's Journals. How is everyone doing today? I'm doing better. I've been using some nose sprays to try to clear up what the doctor has told me is more than likely just a bit of a viral infection, a cold, in lieu of what I thought it was a sinus infection. So we'll see how the day progresses. She gave me some more medicine and an allergy pill to see if that'll help relieve the symptoms. We are going to take a step away from Creep on June for today. And we're going to be making a little journal that I saw on Camellia Craft's channel. Julie made one of these and showed us how, and it really is simple. I do have to confess that this is my second take on it because my first take was very confusing for you and for me. So I just figured, you know what, let's just scrap that portion of what I already videotaped and we'll start again. This journal has a fabric spine. It's a 1-inch spine, and I have decorated it using some of my Tim Holtz paper dolls that I have colored using my Crayola markers. They work great on these dolls, and maybe one day I'll do a quick little video and show you how I do it. I've actually seen Natifa, she was one of Tim Holtz's makers, do this on her channel. And of course, if I show you how to do it, I would refer to her. But so it's decorated with the paper dolls that I've colored, and I've added little butterfly wings to make them look like fairies. And I have used some of the specimen ephemera around behind them to give it a little bit more jazzy. And then, what is this? And, oh, that was my ephemera. This is how I decorated the inside. I did make a specimen slide using Tim Holtz papers. And I've decorated it using a lot of his ephemera on the front cover and on the back cover. And these are some of the pieces I had tucked into the front pocket here. I'm trying to do this without letting the specimen slide reflect, but I have a new phone and I have a screen protector on it, which is making everything appear dark, so I can't really tell how much this is reflecting. I may have to change my screen protector. And I've added 2 signatures to it. Each signature is 10 pages, and I've used the Scraps and Scrap Assemblage kit from Tracy Fox, and I've cut the papers down to size to fit them. The papers are 5.5 tall by 7 3/4 inches long, folded in half, and I made the signatures so that I could show you what I'm doing. This is another one that I've made. It's completely undecorated, but it has the same 1-inch spine, and I have 2 signatures prepared to sew into it. So if I'm feeling brave, I might sew one for you on camera, although I do know how, but showing someone, I tend to twist things all around. So what I may ultimately do is just show you how to measure for where you will place your signatures and then sew them in. I use basically the 3-hole pamphlet stitch. There are videos on YouTube from other people that I'm sure will show you much better than I can with the twists and the turns. But we'll see. I might get brave. Okay. What you are going to need is you're going to need 1 sheet of 12 by 12 paper. It can be white on the back. It can be decorated on the back. I've taken some of my Tim Holtz, which is decorated on both sides. And this is the sheet that we are going to use. Now we are going to cut the 12 by 12 into 3 4 by 12 pieces of paper. And I'm going to grab my paper trimmer. And since I had a bit of a mess the first time I videoed, I've moved everything out of the way so that hopefully I have enough room to put my paper trimmer down, okay? And I may just have to move my water bottle a bit. So what we're going to do, we're going to take our piece of paper. Yeah, I do have to move my water bottle, so excuse me. I'm doing that. And we are going to cut, again, 3 pieces that are 4 inches wide by 12 inches high. And so we have that piece there. And then we have this piece, again, 4 by 12. I'm just going to move it over so that it is on the 4-inch spot. And I'm going to cut. Okay? So now you have 3 pieces that are 4 inches wide by 12 inches high. If I keep repeating myself, for those of you who are new to this, it may help you to learn if you are just hearing it again and again. For those of you that have been doing this for a while, you're probably going, oh, all right, step up and get on with it. But I always look at things that people sometimes are not as experienced as other people. And so I try to do it in simpler terms, not simpler terms, yeah, I guess simpler terms, so that everyone can do it. Okay, so we have our 3 4 by 12 sheets, and we're going to have to decide which sheet we want to use for our front and back covers. Now, since this portion of the paper that I've picked out is the most highly decorated, I think I'm going to use this for my front and back covers. So I'm going to take this sheet, which is 4 by 12, and I'm going to cut it in half to make 2 pieces that are 6 by 12, because our journal is ultimately 6 inches tall. Okay? So now we have our front cover and our back cover, or whichever you will choose with your paper to be the front and the back. Okay? We're going to put that aside, and we are going to grab our scoreboard. Now, I'm using the Big Mama Jamma for this one because it will be ultimately a little bit easier. I don't know if you're going to be able to see the top of the scoreboard. You might, but you're going to have to trust me if you don't. All right, we have our 2 4 by 6. We're going to put those aside. We have our 2 4 by 12s. Now, if you are a stickler for things running in the proper direction, fortunately, on this one, we don't have to worry. You're going to have to make adjustments. And by that, I'm going to show you what I did on the one that I did in my first video. Okay? When I first cut this, I realized that, yes, these 2 pieces are facing in the proper direction. Actually, the pockets, it's written in the proper direction, going the way you want it to go. But the back is upside down. In this case, it doesn't matter what the back looks like. We only care about this side because the back is going to be covered up by our cover. Okay? We're going to be gluing our fabric spine onto this side, and so we're going to be using this as the front, and this is going to cover this up. So ultimately, you just want to make sure, if you're a stickler for it, I don't really care. And in my case, it doesn't matter with this paper. If you're a stickler for it, you might want to just see what's going to happen when you score your paper to make sure that your pockets or your design is facing in the proper direction. Okay? That was the reason that I redid my video, because I completely confused myself about that. And so, yeah. All right. So now we're going to take one of our 4 by 12 sheets of paper, and we are going to score it at 3 inches and at 9 inches. And again, I don't know for sure if you can see that. You might have to just take my word for it. Okay, so I'm taking my score tool, and I'm scoring this sheet at 3, like so. And I'm scoring the other portion of it at 9. So we have this sheet, it's scored at 3 inches and at 9 inches. You want this 6-inch area in there because that is where your cover is going to go. Okay? So that's why it's important to make sure that you do the proper scoring. Now the other piece, we're going to score this one at 3.5 like so, and at 9.5, okay? Because this is going to be the piece that has the, just want to show you, the pocket that opens on the top and the pocket that opens on the side, okay? So we're going to have one piece that's a little bit shorter, and that's going to be our top pocket. Let me just fold it over and show you. And we're going to have one piece that's a little bit longer, and that's going to be our bottom pocket or our top tucking pocket, okay? Now what you need to do is we need to get rid of our scoreboard, okay? And we're just going to do that. I'm going to get this out of the way, and with any miracle, I have not hit the tripod, okay? We're going to bring our 3 pieces back. And now what we are going to do, we are going to put little thumb notches into our pockets so that you will know, or if you're selling your journals, the person that purchases it will know that they can tuck something in from the side. And on this one, we can tuck something in from the top and also from the side. At this point, you need to decide which you want to be the inside front and which you want to be the inside back. I happen to like the top tuck pocket in the front, so I'm going to make this my front inside panel. And I will go into it in a little bit more detail and explain what I mean by that. You're going to need to make a thumb notch here on the side if you prefer, and a thumb notch here on the top if you want to notch your pockets. So I'm taking my little 1.5 inch punch here, and I'm going to slide it, and hopefully it's going to be in the middle, and I'm going to give a little snip, and I have a thumb notch on here, and of course it's not in the middle, and I'm going to put a thumb notch in the top of my top tuck pocket, okay? This notch I'm going to make a little bit bigger because when you make it too small, it just really doesn't look right. So I'm going to give a little, snip there, and now I have a thumb notch in my top pocket. Now the same thing on the back. Since I've chosen this to be my front inside cover, and this to be my back inside cover, I need to make my thumb notches on this side. This might make a little bit more sense once we start to assemble the journal, okay? So I have a little thumb notch there, okay? That's the top side tuck pocket. And I'm going to put a little thumb notch in this one, and that's going to be our bottom side tuck pocket, okay? Now, what you also want to do, if you would like, excuse me, if you would like for the corners of your journal to be rounded, now is when you would take and you will make sure that your pockets are folded straight so that all of your papers line up with each other. And then I'm just going to give a little bit of a push down with my bone folder. Now this one appears to be a little bit crooked. Actually, no, it's pretty good. Okay. And so I'm going to just use my bone folder and push down on my pockets. Okay. Now, because this is the back, and it's going to face this way with the pockets out, you want to round your corners on the same side as your thumb notches. All right, so I'm going to use my corner rounder, and I'm going to use the size labeled 7, and she's still working for us. Okay, and then I'm going to do it on the bottom. Okay, so now you have your 2 rounded corners on the same sides as your thumb notch. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on the front. This is the outer portion of your journal cover, and we're going to make sure that our pockets are straight on our piece of paper, and I'm going to use my bone folder, and I'm just going to press down. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing on the top. I'm just going to turn it over so I can see it a little bit better, and that's relatively straight. So I'm just going to push down, and I'm going to crease that And there we have it. Now we are going to round the outer corners, the same side that the thumb notch is on. And we're going to take our corner rounder and do one. And then we're going to do the other. Okay, she's still working for us. So now we have our front inside and our back inside. Okay, now you have to decide which piece of your paper do you want to be the front cover and which piece of your paper do you want to be the back cover. I think I like this for the front cover. So now remember, this is going to go this way on the outside front. So you're going to want to round your corners to match your inside cover. So we are going to round this corner and we're going to round that corner. Okay, so I'm just going to do that really quickly, like so. Okay, so that's what your front cover will look like from the outside. Now, same thing applies on this side. We're going to have this be our back cover, so we are just going to match up the two pieces of paper, and this is what your back cover is going to look like on the outside and on the inside. So we are going to round these two corners, okay? So I'm just going to do that for you, like so. Okay, so now you have front outside cover, front inside cover, back outside cover, back inside cover. And that's what it's going to look like. I like my pages inked, and so I'm going to go away right now, and that's what I'm going to do. And I will come back to you when I've completed that, okay? I will see you in a few. All right, friends, we are back, and I have completed doing all of the inking on both sides of my covers. And now what we are going to do is we're going to first glue our pockets down, and then we are going to add our fabric spine. So we're going to take our outside covers away, and we are going to glue our pockets. Now this is a side tuck pocket, so we're going to glue along this line, and we're going to glue along this line. And I am just going to grab out my glue, which I have kept closed and sealed, so that with any luck, we will not have a problem getting our glue to flow for us. Just going to get rid of that little schmeg there. Okay, we'll start with this one, and again, we're going to glue along here, and we're going to glue along here. So I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to hope that my glue is going to come out, and it is. So we're going to do a very fine line of glue down the bottom, and we're going to do a very fine line of glue across the side, and we are going to flip our pocket closed very carefully, push it down so that the glue will adhere, and we have our top side tuck pocket on our front cover. I'm just going to wipe away any little bits of excess glue that may have come out. And this is our top tuck pocket, so we're going to glue on this side and we're going to glue on this side. So again, I'm going to grab my glue gun, and we're going to put a fine bead of glue down the side here. And we're going to catch that little rounded corner, and we're going to put a fine bead of glue along that side of our pocket there. Flip our pocket over, and we're going to push down so that our glue adheres. Now I'm going to grab my back inside cover, and again, down the bottom and up the side. So we're going to do this like this. I hope you guys have been going over and watching my Creep on June videos. They're short little snips of, I think one is 15 minutes long and one is just about 16 minutes long. And they're just little videos for my day 3 and my day 4. and I have printed out the bases for day 5 and day 6. And you will more than likely be seeing this video tomorrow or maybe Saturday. And then I will do my day 5 and my day 6 for either Sunday and Monday or Monday and Tuesday. So yeah, I'm trying to get more videos out while school is out of session and while I am home and able to get it done. Okay, so there we have our front and our back covers and our front and our back covers. Now what we need to do is we are going to flip sides. We're going to take our front inside cover and we're going to put it on this side, and we're going to take our back inside cover and we're going to put it on this side. And that is because we will be gluing down our fabric spine. Okay, so we're gonna go like this, and we're gonna go like this, and I am making sure you're seeing what I'm doing. I am I'm lining my covers up with the lines on my grid mat, and I'm lining it up here. And this area here, area of 2 boxes is a 1-inch area, so that I'm going to glue my fabric down so that I get a 1-inch spine. This is the fabric I've chosen. This is the one that I used on both of the other journals that I created, and it's pretty much non-directional. So ultimately, it doesn't really matter which way I face it, but I kind of like to look and see what I've got. And so I have the 7 and the 8 facing in this direction, so I'm probably going to glue it down this way. Now again, I tend to do things in a bit of overkill. This piece is just about 3 inches wide, but I like to make sure that everything is secure, and so that's why I've done it so wide. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our glue, and I'm going to put a bead of glue here along this side, and another bead of glue here. And then I'm going to do the same on this piece. Do a bead of glue rather closely to the edge. And then another bead of glue pretty much right alongside of it. Doesn't have to be straight. And I am going to make sure that my covers are straight on the lines on my mat. And they both are pretty straight. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my fabric and I'm going to lay it down, upside down, onto the backs of my inside covers. And I'm just going to push down like so. Okay? And push down like so on here. Okay? And I am going to move this aside and give it a chance to dry. Okay, I'm going to show you what it's going to look like from the outside. Now remember, this is our inside back. This is our inside front. Oh, did I do it wrong? I think I did it. I did it wrong. Okay. Scratch that. Oh, there are some days that you wake up and you say to yourself, I'm going to make a video. And once you get started, you realize that perhaps you shouldn't have made a video that day. Okay, cancel that. We're just going to start again. All right, these are the inside backs of our covers. We are going to glue our fabric facing up so that it shows out once we add our 2 outer covers. And I bet there were those of you out there that were saying, Joni, you're doing it wrong. What are you doing? When Julie made hers, she used plain muslin that she had dyed with, I think it was Distress Oxides. And so she kind of hand dyed it. And so ultimately, it really didn't matter which way she faced her fabric because there was no print on it. All right, let's try this again. We are going to glue our fabric to the inside covers facing up, okay, because it's going to show on the outside when we fold our covers closed, all right? It really doesn't matter that we got glue on the other side of our fabric. I do want to pull this up because it is a little bit shorter than my paper. I kind of did that on purpose because I wanted my spine to be a little bit shorter than my covers. So let's make sure that we've got that in there. All right, and we're just going to smooth it out like so. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and I'm going to smooth that out like so. Okay. All right, and we have our inside covers glued properly. This is the front. This is the back. Let me just show you. I don't want to stick these down because I did want to do some decorating on the front of my cover. Okay, we've got it straight. When you do this, just to recap, the backs of your inside covers, the fabric, if you're using a fabric that's printed on the outside and not on the back, on the front side and not on the back, your covers are upside down, your fabric is right side up. Okay, I'm going to move this to the side and let it sit for a minute or so. Because what I wanted to do with my front cover is I have a lot of these, well, they're mixed in here, but a lot of these Tim Holtz number paper fasteners. They have little numbers engraved in them. And I just thought it would be fun to add one down in the corner on the front of my cover as a little bit of a decoration, okay? And I picked this one out. It's the number 14 for no other reason than basically it was the first one I grabbed. And I just want to put it on my front cover before I attach my two covers together so that the little pokey bits are hidden on the inside and won't interfere with anything. Now, you can, when you glue this together, you can make this entire cover a huge pocket. And we might do that on the back just so I can show you what it looks like if you wanted to do that. But for now, I want to decorate my front cover, and I think I'm just going to leave my front cover as is. I'm not going to make a pocket out of it. So I'm taking my crocodile, and I'm using the smaller hole. They have two different sizes if you've never seen one before. And I'm just basically going to make a hole in my cover, probably right about there. Okay, and this way I can put my little number paper fastener. I forgot what they're called. I get rid of a lot of the packaging on things. And I'm going to put it in, and I'm going to tilt it kind of on an angle. I think it looks kind of cool with the number 14 kind of on an angle. And I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to bend the sides, rather, of the paper fastener onto the inside. And there we have it. It's just a simple little decoration, but it gives it a little something. And you can ultimately, if you want, you can punch a hole and dangle things from your cover as well. Okay, so we've done that. And now what we're going to do is we are going to glue our front cover onto our journal, okay? And as you know, this is our front cover, okay? So I'm going to take and I am going to put some glue all around here because I want this to be a solid piece attached to the inside cover. So I'm going to grab my glue gun, and I am just going to put some glue on the fabric. Nicey, okay. And I'm going to put glue all along the sides here so that my sides will catch. Can I blame all of my boo-boos today on the fact that I really don't feel well? I think that sounds good. I know I got a bunch of new subscribers thanks to the Creep on June collaboration, and they're all going to say, why did we subscribe to this woman? She's a crazy person. She has no idea what she's doing. But if you go back and you look at my other videos, I haven't made a lot of mistakes in some of my other videos. Some of them, they're comical, and you will be warned. If you read that description box below the video, you will be forewarned if it's one of those oopsie kind of videos, because we all have them. We all have our oopsie days. Okay, we're going to push this down. I don't think I put enough glue on this corner here. So I'm just going to add a little bit more glue. And again, it might be overkill. I'm just going to pull this up more so you guys can see what I'm doing. And all right, I think that might be enough glue. All right, and my cover is not quite lined up because that would be just the way it's going today. Okay, all right. I'm just going to push down along all of these sides. Now I am going to show you how to do your spine on your journal, but because this is going to be relatively damp from the glue, and I want to put it aside to dry for a bit, we're going to do the work on the other journal that I showed you that I've also created. Okay, so there we go. We have our front cover on. Now we're going to take and we're going to add our back cover. Now this one, I will make a little bit of a pocket out of. And so you see how it fits nicely on there, like so. Okay, I'm just pushing this down again. I'm going to glue along here and along here and along here. And I may put the line of glue a little bit further up so that if you put something into the pocket, it won't catch on the fabric in there. So I'm going to put a line of glue around the edge of the inside cover, like so. And I'm going to make my pocket maybe this deep. So I'm going to use this line as a guideline. I'm going to put some glue onto my fabric, like so. And then I'm going to put a steady line of glue along this line here, so that we'll have a pocket, but it will only be this deep. And then I'm going to put a line of glue across the top. And then I'm going to put a line of glue across the bottom. Okay. And this way we will have a pocket in our back cover. But again, it will only be from here to here and here to here. Okay. I have nothing prepared as far as ephemera goes for this journal at all, nor do I have any items pulled out to decorate this journal. Well, I actually do. That's a lie. While I was gone and inking and reviewing the first portion of this video, I did go and take a look at my paper dolls, and I'll show you the ones that I picked out for decorating this journal. Okay, so there we have it. Here's our front cover and our inside front cover with our top tuck pocket. And here's our back cover with our two side tuck pockets. And now I'm going to very gently open this And you'll see that you have this little secret pocket here attached to your back cover. So there we have the journal itself created. And I'm going to grab the people that I have picked to be on the front of this journal. And now if you look here, the paper actually says, positively last week, opens return engagement in San Francisco, Monday, April 6th. Okay, can you see that? My sister Eileen at the Biltmore Theater on 5th and Olive Streets. I grew up in New York, and I don't think I know where where Olive Street is. But I've picked these two ladies who, well, they kind of look like sisters to me. And so I picked them as to be the paper dolls for the front of our cover. And also you can see here we have this little line. Let me bring it up a little closer. Mail orders filled for all performances. And I'm going to use that as my little sitting spot. And so I thought that I might use these two sisters for the front of my cover. Like so. That's not really going to work out as a good spot for sitting. But yeah, we'll figure it out. So I thought that they would look cute, and I might color them up and add them to the cover. Okay? Now, I'm going to just grab out the other journal, which, it's right here. And I'm going to show you how to measure to make your marks on your spine so that you can sew in your signatures. All right, I'm going to grab my two signatures that I've already put together. Again, this is paper from Tracy's kit, Scraps and Scraps Assemblage. And I will link that kit in the description box below. It's a really unique kit with just some gorgeous little pages here that have all sorts of stuff on them. Some of them look like just a bunch of scrap paper put together like this. Scraps of fabric, bits and pieces of paper. Some look like ledger pages. This one is just a collage of different things. So it's perfect for a junk journal, and it's light enough so that you can actually write on it. So yeah, I just think it's a great, makes for a great signature in my journal. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my signatures and I'm going to measure it out into the inside of my journal and make sure that it's kind of centered. And I know you probably can't see that, but I am working it out so that it is centered. Okay? Like so. So I know that I want to come down a bit on my signature so that when I sew it in, the seam, the thread is not too close to the edge so that it would rip out. All right? I want to come in a bit on my paper. So I want to come in at least to here and at least to here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my ruler and I'm going to measure. Now, these papers again are cut at 5 inches high by 7 3/4 inches wide, and they're folded in half. Okay, so we have a 5.5 inch area here, and our journal is 6 inches tall. So what I want to do is I want to measure. Now I know that I have 6 inches here, so I want to come in at least 1 inch from the top and 1 inch from the bottom of my spine. So I'm just going to slide my ruler over, okay, like so. I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to make a mark at 5 because that's 1 inch in. And I'm going to make a mark at 1 because that is 1 inch in. Now that will leave a space of 1, 2, 3, 4 inches in here. We're going from the number 1 to the number 5. So we want to make a mark in the center of those parameters, and that would be at 3. Okay? All right. 3 is also half of 6. You can figure it that way too. All right. So we know that this is where we're going to poke holes in our signature. Okay, when we poke the holes to be able to stitch it in. Now remember, 1 inch from the bottom, 1 inch from the top. Okay, we have our signature set. Now we're going to make our marks on our journal cover. All right, again, we have 6 inches to work with. We want to come in 1 inch from the bottom, 1 inch from the top at 5. We want to divide our 6 inches in half. We want to go to 3. So we have 1 inch, 1 inch, and half, okay? These, we've made our marks with our pencils so that we know where to start when, in this case, we're going to need to use a marker. And I'm going to use a Flair pen, and I know that's the brand name, okay? A pen like this, because it's not going to soak through my fabric. So when all is said and done, I'm not going to see the lines that I'm going to make on the other side of my fabric. At least I hope not. The way today is going, you may just see them blaring through. But you can look on the outside of this journal, and I've done it exactly the same way. And these are lines on the fabric itself. These are not the lines that I've made. Okay, you can see here, that's where I put one of my stitch holes. You do not see the marker through the fabric. Okay, you can use a disappearing chalk pencil like you do when you're sewing. You could do that by all means. This is what I have on my desk. I'm not going to get up and look for my chalk pens for my sewing. All right, I'm going to take, again, my T ruler, shaped like a T, not like the drink. All right, and I am going to line it up at the top here at that 1 inch mark. And excuse if you can see my head. And I'm going to make sure that it's straight. I'm going to double check with my other ruler to make sure that my line is at 5. And it lines up perfectly. I'm going to take my pen and I am going to make a mark on my fabric at that point. Okay, I'm just going to go over it a few times like so. Okay, that's our first line that we need in order to correctly measure this to be able to sew in our signatures. And then I'm going to go here and I'm going to check again. This may be overkill for some of you, but for some of you it may not be. We are at 3. I'm going to make another mark here at 3. If you get a mark on your paper, who cares? It's called a junk journal for a reason. I'm going to slide it down here like so. And I know I'm at my 1 inch mark because I can see better what I'm doing on this side. And I'm going to make a mark with my pen. 1 inch, 3 inch, 5 inch. Overkill, I know. For those of you that don't know how to do that, it's going to make it a little bit easier, I hope, to understand what I'm doing. Now, we have a 1 inch spine, okay? I want to make it equal from the left and equal from the right where I am going to put my signature. So I am going to come in 1/4 of an inch from the right, and I'm going to make a mark with my pen, like so. I'm going to come in 1/4 of an inch from the left and make a mark with my pen, like so. You can see them there, I hope. I will pick it up for you just to make sure you're able to see those 2 little marks. I'm going to turn my journal sideways, And I am going to grab, I don't know why I was closing my pen, going to grab my T ruler, and I am going to use it to make my line 1/4 of an inch from each side. Again, it may turn out not to be exact. The world is not going to come crumbling to an end if you're off by a smidge. All right. So now I have my mark here. This is where my front signature is going to go. And then I am just going to turn this so that I can actually see what I'm doing. And I'm going to make a mark on the other side along that same line. Okay, like so. And this is where we are going to sew our back signature. I'm just going to go over it one more time. Now, if you were using paper, these are the points where you would poke your holes in your paper spine. Right here, right here, right here, right here, and right here. And of course, if I missed that one, right there. Those would be your holes in your paper and or cardboard spine where your signature would be sewn into your journal. Because this is fabric, I don't need to make the holes. My sewing needle will poke right through these holes and we will be able to complete our signatures. Now, what you will need to do, these are where you are, I don't know if you can actually still see those pencil marks. What you would do at this point, I do it this way. I take the front page that I've made the marks on for my measurements to put my signature into my spine properly. I pull off that piece of paper and I fold it the other way, like so, and I tuck it into the center of my signature, okay? So here we go. We still have our little spots. Now what I do at this point is I will put a clip on this side and trying to grab a hold of one. I will put a clip here at the top. And sometimes I will even put a clip here on the side to hold my signature together. Because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to poke holes using those lines as directions. I'm going to poke holes in my spine so that I will be able to sew my signature into my journal. And I'm just going to go and I'm going to follow that line. I'm going to take my little pokey tool and I'm going to poke through my signature and make sure that it's coming out on the crease. Okay, and I'm going to poke it all the way through so that I know that that hole is nice and big. I'm going to make sure everything is still secure. And I'm going to go and I'm going to poke the hole in the center here where we have that pencil line. And I'm going to poke through. Make sure that the hole is coming out on the crease so that we know that our signature is lined up properly. Put it in and out a few times. And again, we're going to repeat the same process with our final hole right here. Okay? So now we have our signature prepared and we have our spine prepared. Now, you know, I'm just going to go for it, but I need to thread my needle and get everything set first, so I will be right back. All right, I have gone and I have thread my needle, which I have done off camera, because if you're anything like me, you don't always get your needle threaded first time. I like to sew and I crochet, and I can't knit to save my life, but I sew by hand a lot, and I also do sewing on my sewing machine, and I can't even thread my needle on my sewing machine. So in lieu of embarrassing myself, I did that off camera. But what I am going to show you, how I decide how long my string needs to be, I'm going to show you. First of all, I am using wax thread, and I'm using very long sewing needles. This was a kit that I bought years ago. I'll be gosh darned if I can remember where I bought it. look on Amazon. I'll look and I'll try to link one for you, okay? The way I decide how long my string is going to be is I take my thread and I measure 1, 2, a little bit longer, 2, and 3 times the length of my spine, and I'll cut it here, and that's the way I decide how long my string is going to be for sewing my spine in. Okay, here goes nothing, guys. What you do for the 3-hole pamphlet stitch is you put your needle through the center of your spine, okay, in the center hole, and you pull it through like so. Now, mind you, there's going to be a lot of tossing and moving around of the paper, and you pull it through, but you leave a nice sized tail, okay? I reckon to guess that's probably about 5 inches, all right? And you're going to want to hold it with your thumb while you put your needle through your spine. Now, like I said, I didn't have to pre-punch holes because this is fabric. I'm going to go through the center mark right here where our lines intersect, and I'm going to put my needle through the fabric, and I'm going to pull it through like so, and I'm going to keep pulling, and I'm going to move my signature up to the line that I've made for my spine. It's probably off by just a smidge, no biggie. Now, because I don't have a pre-punched hole, I'm kind of going to have to poke around through the fabric to make sure that I'm getting my needle in the fabric, in the spot I need to get it. So I'm just going to take a pot shot that it's right about there, thereabouts. I'm going to come through from the outside. Okay, so the outside looks like this at this point. Now what we are going to do is we are going to poke our needle through our top hole, like so. Okay, and we're going to come through on the inside of our signature, and there we are. Okay, we are on the inside of our signature. Now, sometimes it's a little difficult to get it through. There we go. Okay, and we're going to pull it to a decent tension on the outside. Now, because this is fabric, we don't want to pull too tight because we're going to crinkle the fabric. All right, so now we have everything on the inside. We are going to go through our center hole again, okay? You want to be careful that you don't pierce your thread. So you're going to want to pick it up and take a good look at what you're doing, okay? Pull your thread as far to the right as you can and put your needle through the hole again. And again, I'm checking to make sure I have not pierced my thread, and it doesn't appear that I did, but I might have. You can pull your paper up and down as you need to because it's not attached. And we're going to come through back again on the other side. Okay. I'm going to move that portion of the string out of the way. And I'm going to look inside, and my thread is still moving freely, so that means I have not pierced it with my sewing needle. Now, because this is fabric, I don't want to go back through the same hole again. I want to kind of go off a little to the side because I don't want the hole in my fabric to get a little bit too big. So what I'm going to do is, you're going to need, if you had paper, you would go back through the same hole that you had previously made. In this case, I'm just going to come over the slightest amount and pierce my fabric just to the left of the original sewing hole, okay? And then I'm going to turn it over to show you what I mean. You can see the original hole was here. My second hole is right there. Now I'm going to go in, and I'm going to pull my threads a little bit tighter And I'm going to make sure I'm not creasing my fabric so that I have it all set and so that it's tight enough so that it doesn't pucker, but it's not too tight to crease my fabric. And then we are going to go back to here and we're going to come through with our needle from the outside again, back through our fabric, okay? Like so. Again, don't pull it too tight. And we're going to go back through the hole in our paper, which this is where it gets a little bit hard because I can't really see what I'm doing around this tripod. I'm trying to find the hole in the paper. Okay, this is where it might get comical, people. Okay. All right. Let's see. Am I getting there? Okay. I think I got it that time. Nope, I'm going to have to turn it around. I'm sorry. I can't see. All right, there we go. All right. See, this is what I meant about me having to flip and flop all over. And I brought my string successfully back through the last hole in my signature. And I'm going to move this up a little. I'm going to get rid of these clips now because they are so stinking annoying. Okay. And we're going to flip it over and we're going to check to make sure that our tension is good on our fabric. And I'm going to reach under and I'm going to pull through that center string here. Okay. I'm going to flip it over and I am going to make sure that I have everything as tight as possible. Again, flipping it over to check my fabric. Now, we're going to take our needle and we are going to slide it under this thread here, okay? And we're going to pull it through. This may not be the same way that everybody does this. This is the way that I do it. If you're not sure, go over and watch someone else's video on how to do the 3-hole pamphlet stitch because I've seen it in a few different ways. Now we're going to take our strings and we're going to pull them tight. Again, because this is fabric, I want to make sure that my tension is good on the outside of my journal, and it is. And now what you're going to do is you are going to tie your 2 pieces of string together. I'm going to go from left over right, and I'm going to make a knot, and I'm going to pull it, make sure that it's tight. I'm going to turn it again to make sure that the tension on the outside of the journal is still good, okay, and that the tension on the inside is good. And now I am going to tie right over left, like so, and I'm going to bring it through and tie another knot. And I'm going to do it again, right over left. It's a little bit of overkill, but it won't come out. Now, you do want to check on all of your journals, no matter whether it's a paper or a fabric, that your tension is correct. And see, this got a little bit tighter than maybe it should have. So I can pull it a little because I have enough room on the inside. And pull it a little here. And there we have one signature sewn into our journal. I am not doing it again. You're just going to have to take a guess on how I sewed in my front signature. We are done, okay? This is my other signature, which I will ultimately sew in, okay? I am contemplating coming back and decorating this journal with you. I may just do it just for the heck of it. Sometimes I find that people don't care how things look once they're decorated, but you know, what the heck? I'm going to do it. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Here is the journal that started it all. This was the second journal that I made, which we just successfully sewed our signature into. And this is the one we made together. And I will come back. I'm going to sew my signatures into this one. I'm going to sew my other signature into this one. Sew my signatures into this one. I do have them picked out. I've picked out the papers already. These are simple patchwork papers from Tracy Fox Creative. They are one of my favorite papers. You can see they're all patchwork papers in different colors. The inside backing papers, I am pretty sure this one and the other two are both backing papers from a kit I bought from Vibe of Vintage on Etsy. I'm not 100% sure about this one. I do know that these cream-colored panels are from Vibe of Vintage, and I used them as backing papers because these papers are so beautiful. Who really wants to write on them? And I mean, you could if you wanted to do artwork on them and doodles and stuff, but these are the papers that are going to go in this journal. So once I've sewn them in, and after I've sewn the final signature in that one, I will come back and we will decorate one of these two journals. Okay, I haven't really picked out too much for that one. I've got a lot picked out for this one. Okay, guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you stuck around to see how this all turned out. I hope you understood what I did. I'm going to send you lots of love, big hugs, and thank you again for subscribing to my YouTube channel. I will have more information coming. Probably when I decorate this journal, I will have everything figured out as to when I'm going to do the drawing for my 1,500 subscribers video. And I'll tell you all about that when we do this. Okay? And so I'll see you soon. Love, hugs. Please remember to like, subscribe, and comment. If you made it through this video with me, we could do anything together. Okay? I'll see you soon. Again, thank you for watching and have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.